What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Q&A with S&J. Super excited to be back with you guys again this week so we can answer your questions and help you take your business to the next level. Jocelyn and I are back at the homestead here after a couple weeks on the road. We had Flip Your Life Live Nashville just 2 weeks ago. Really an amazing experience. It was life-changing for everybody in the room, but especially for us. And man, it could not have been a better time spending it with over 100 of our Flip Your Life community members live. We did tons of Q&As there, did a lot of content. Everybody took massive action, and there were some major breakthroughs in people's lives and their businesses in Nashville 2 weeks ago. And then last week, Jocelyn and I took a long-needed, full-blown family vacation with Isaac and Anna Joe to Jamaica. Had some amazing experiences there, snorkeling on coral reefs, and we swam with dolphins, took the kids, it was the first time they got to actually go out of the country, like through customs and get their passport stamped, and all sorts of good experiences there, man. It was just an amazing, restful time, but we are super excited to be back serving our Flip Your Life community, the place that we love the most, and here hanging out with you guys on our member call, the first member call of October. And I see a ton of people logging into the chat room right now. Let us know real quick if you can hear us and see us. As soon as I see one or two people, give us some confirmation. Jocelyn's going to talk into her microphone right now.
Hey guys, it's good to be here with you today.
Back in the United States of America is where we're at. So looking for a quick sound check and a quick video check in the chat box. If you're in the chat, go ahead and post that you can hear us, or let us know if you cannot hear us. Jocelyn, if you could put in the chat, can you hear us and can you see us? Want to make sure that everybody can see and hear. So I'm going to hit refresh here on my chat box. Yep. Hard to hear, Jocelyn. Put your mic right by your mouth.
It's pretty much touching my mouth. So let me know if you can hear me.
Jocelyn is low. Let me see what's going on here. It might be this might be it. Yep, I see why. Hold on 1 second.
All right, let's check that now. Jocelyn, talking to your microphone now.
All right, let's try it again. Let me know if you can hear me now.
All right, Jocelyn should be loud and clear in your mic. I had to switch over to the splitter. As soon as we get some confirmation that she sounds still a little low, still kind of muffled. All right, let's try one more time here. Should be working fine. Hold on 1 second. Scarlett. Save. All right, Jocelyn, one more time, a little bit louder. Go ahead and talk again.
All right, guys, how is it this time? I'm pretty much like yelling into it now.
It should be on the right microphone. I got one more thing to do. Now Shane is low.
We're just breaking everything
normal.
Today. We're on vacation.
What about now? Can you hear me now? Shane is loud. You are quiet still. Jay, good. Both lower. Hold on a second, guys. I'm going to have to pull this up real quick. Little technical difficulty here. I'm going to have to pull it up on YouTube and see what I'm hearing. Okay. Second, guys. I'm going to have to pull this up real quick. Little technical difficulty here. We are checking some sound. Welcome, everybody. If you want to go ahead and put your question in the microphone.
Okay, it sounds okay over here. Let's see.
I'm waiting for you to talk. Hold on. We're checking some sound. Welcome, everybody. If you want to go ahead and put
Okay, now people are saying good.
Okay, we've got perfect audio coming through you, the Hangout feed on our side. So we're going to have to go with that. You may need to turn your speakers up, but it sounded absolutely perfect because of the delay. I got all good from Jeff.
Okay, so
Kim is working
maybe
fine.
We fix it.
So we got the delay. All right, guys, for those of you who are at your first Q&A with S&J, welcome. Got a ton of people in the chat room today. People are still flooding into it. Go ahead and put your question in the chat. That's how this works. There is a delay between the chat room and the video, and we want to get as many questions in the chat right now as possible. We usually get through somewhere between 15 and 20 of those questions during the call. You want to put those in the chat box, not in the replies. The replies are only for people who could not be here, and we do not get to those questions until after we do live questions. So if you want a question answered today on our member call, please put that in the chat box right now. We've already got a lot of questions in. Jocelyn, have you been able to go ahead and get some of those? Or okay, so we're getting some of those questions ready right now. Getting ready to jump into it. Got a ton of people in here, man. It's going to be an awesome call. Great questions so far from what I'm reading. All right, guys. So we are going to get started. Looks like everyone can see and hear us. Got a bunch of questions in. We're going to jump right into it. Got a lot of announcements and some other things that we want to talk about. Things going on inside the community later in the call today. Again, Flip Your Life Live Nashville was incredible. There's a lot of people in the room already talking about it right now in the chat room. And we are going to be bringing you more information later this year about Flip Your Life Live for next year. We've already had a lot of people that didn't get to come that are like, man, I missed out. I really want to go next year. When is it? We're still working on that. We're nailing down dates and venues and what it's going to look like and where it's going to be and things like that. So that's going to be something later in the year. So don't worry about that right now. The main thing we want to talk to you about today is just your questions, your answers, and how we can serve you better inside of the Flip Your Life community. So without further ado, let's jump into our first question for today's Q&A.
All right, let's see. First up, we have Rebecca, and Rebecca says, I am launching registration for my big conference next week. My wait list is going great. 600 plus people say they want to come.
Oh my gosh.
There are 150 spots. Do you have any tips for promoting sales? Also, I'm going to use a membership plugin to take registrations because I thought attendees could use that login at the conference to get their handouts, etc. Does that sound okay, or should I use a specific event type registration plugin like Eventbrite?
You know, it doesn't really matter as long as you're using the software that you're comfortable with. Eventbrite, a lot of people use that. We did registration just through regular order forms, and we just tagged them so that we could email anything they needed. If there was any kind of extra documents or something like that, we just shared, you know, a Google Doc or a Dropbox link or whatever you use with those people that we tagged. We usually shy away from adding new tools into our system. If we can accomplish our goal with what we already have, then we don't really want to add complexity or a new thing or another thing you got to pay for or whatever. So that's just kind of how we do it. So whatever simplifies your process. As for selling out the tickets, you've already done the most important thing. You've got a bunch of people to raise their hand and say, yes, I want this. Okay. The couple things you could do between now and your quote unquote launch of the thing, you could go ahead now with that list that said we're interested. You could send them out like a, you know, $100 like hold my spot fee. Like, hey, we're going to do pre-registration. If you're really wanting to come and you want to guarantee that you got a chance to get a ticket on X date, then they could drop down like a deposit. And that way you're getting people not only to vote with their hands, but to vote with their wallets. Because until people spend money, they're really just like, I'd like to go to that. But when they put some money down, they're saying, I am going to go to that. And if you're going to do a deposit for any kind of live event, make the deposit itself non-refundable if they hold their spot, but it will apply to their ticket on the billing. So you could even set it up like 2 bills. So like, let's say it's $500 to come to the event or whatever it is. I'm just picking a number out of my hat here. You would have a $50 non-refundable deposit, and that's my spot is held. Okay. And on the day of, it would bill for the remaining part of the ticket. So it's just like a 2 payment plan, basically, is what you're setting up here. But that way you're getting people to go ahead and vote now. You've got the waiting list. You might as well get some of them to go ahead and vote before they forget about it, before they, you know, choose to spend their money somewhere else. They don't have it. And also just keep reminding that waiting list the date, because you want people to be able to save their money and save it and be able to spend it on your ticket. So that's really all I would do right now. The last thing maybe is make sure you launch that thing live. Like, you know, launch it live. Don't just send an email. Have some big thing that's going to talk about the event and hype it up. And that way at the end of it, almost like a webinar, you can really sell this thing to those 600 people that are on your waiting list, because you really want to get them in a room, get them focused and say, hey, this thing is for sale. It's for sale today. It is going to sell out. Always talk about your event in those terms. This will sell out if you don't put your deposit down, if you don't show up for this thing. If you wait, you're not going to get to go, so that you can create that urgency.
And probably you're not going to have to sell too hard. I mean, as you know, the 600 people who said, yes, I'm definitely coming, they're not all going to come.
Right.
We had the same type situation. We had hundreds of people say, yes, I'm definitely in. And then when it came time to pay for it, people were like, I
That's a little
don't
money.
know.
Right.
So anyway, as you know, I mean, all 600 people are not going to try to pay for it. So I would definitely just reach out to them, keep sending emails about it, especially when you get your sales page ready, see who actually clicks through to that. And then, a lot of people are going to go ahead and jump on it. And then there are going to be some people who click and don't jump on it immediately. So that's an opportunity to reach back out to them and say, hey, I noticed that you clicked on this. Just want to let you know that there will not be availability. So if you're interested, you need to go ahead and sign up now.
The deposit thing could create some really big positive momentum. I mean, wouldn't it be cool if 100 people put down a $50 deposit, and then you at least know who the most serious people are at that point? So it could almost, you could call it a pre-sale. You could call it, live events, rock concerts, sporting events do this all the time. They sell these special VIP packages ahead of time. And if you'll just put the money down, you'll get them. So, anything like that to get people to go ahead and spend money, you're going to have a much better chance of closing out all those tickets fast.
And as an aside, to do with live events, but not specifically with your question, a couple of things that you might consider that you may not have considered because, looking in hindsight at our event that we just had, I would look at event insurance because we had several people who were not able to come due to medical issues, due to whatever kind of issues. And we didn't really have anything in place aside from terms and conditions that said, we can refund you or whatever. And the reason for that is because, as you know, Rebecca, live events are very expensive to put on. Once someone tells us they're coming, we have to go ahead and order stuff for them. We have to go ahead and plan for them to be there. And, a lot of times the bills have already been paid by the time people say they can't come. So it's really hard for us as event hosts to say, I know that you had this scary medical thing, but we can't give you your money back.
Yeah.
So I would just have some type of plan in place for that. We're going to look into event insurance for our event for next year.
This is actually a really great idea, Jocelyn, for like pre-selling the tickets, like even on a deposit, because, Rebecca's event, I think, is a while away, just like we would sell our event almost a year out from the actual date that it's happening. If you can go to your local agent and see if they can come up with some, travel insurance or ticket insurance, the same thing you get, like if you go to we had travel insurance on our trip to Jamaica because it was really expensive. And if we had an emergency and we couldn't go, we wanted to have some assurance that we could get, some of that money back. If you could go get that squared away and offer that and say, hey, let's say that travel insurance per ticket for you, actual cost in your business is $20 a person, right? So you're going to raise your ticket price $20 to cover that. But if you had a $50 deposit, that would cover the insurance for those people. So now you can advertise it as, hey, put your deposit down now, and I'm going to provide for you travel insurance to make sure if something happens or when you buy your ticket that you can't come, don't worry about it. I got you covered. There's no risk to you because every ticket is covered with travel insurance. So it's a great way to get people to go ahead and sell out the event as well.
Just wanted to throw that out there in case you hadn't already considered it, because it's something that in hindsight, I wish we would have done.
And we will do for next year as well. It's not only great for your customer, it's great for you because you don't have to feel bad about it if they can't come. And it's just a great thing to, put a guarantee on your ticket and say, hey, there's no risk here. You buy your ticket. If something happens, you have an emergency, you can't come, we got you covered. Okay.
All right. The next question is from Rocio. Hope I said that right. I forgot to ask you when you were in Nashville how you say that. So it says, first of all, Flip Your Life Live was awesome. Thanks for making this happen. And now on to my question. You have been offering a free month to the Flip Your Life community. If you're comfortable sharing, what kind of results are you seeing? My membership site is ready and I am forming my beta group. I'm considering having a free membership tier as a way to get folks in the door and to get my first paying customer. Do you think this is a good approach to get my first paying customers, or would you caution away from that?
The only way you can know if it's going to work in your niche is to try it. We tried a $1 trial for almost an entire year before we went to the dollar trial, the free trial, which now we have tried for about 3 or 4 months. We have gotten great results from it. And we've also had a few negative consequences to it. Like the results have been very similar to the dollar trial. As for people staying, Something like 60% of people stay through the second month in our free trial. But we really believe that's a reflection of, one, the service that we offer to our community and the product. If your product is right and if your service is great, then people will stay. It has nothing to do with if it's a free trial or how much they paid in or how much they pay a month. If your thing delivers results and people love being a part of your thing, then it doesn't matter how you get them in the door, they will stay. So for us, we have so much confidence in our community, so much confidence in our courses, so much confidence in our ability to serve you guys through our member calls and our podcast, that for us, we wanted to throw the doors open and let them in for free. Like, you guys got to see what's happening in here. Like, don't sit outside and wonder. Come in, check it out. You're going to stay. We're so confident, right? So that's the results that we've seen, because we have a good alignment on our customer. Right? We know our avatar. We know what they need, and we're giving it to them. So you should try it. I mean, if you really feel confident in your product, if you really feel confident in yourself, and you want people to see it, then yes, by all means, let them in and try it. And don't forget, guys, whenever you want to do something in your online business or your business or anything in your life, try it. Go try it. What is the worst thing that can happen? You can always go back to where you were before and not do it. Like, you could offer a free trial for 3 months and see what happens. If it's not working for you, then don't do it. Some of the negative consequences to having a free trial is you are opening the door for everybody, and you're going to get some people in who are hateful, who are just trying to see what's in, they're tire kickers. They're going to leave. You're going to have a little bit more customer service issues because you're letting more people in faster, for one thing. But some of the people that get in are not filtered. They found you, they listen to your podcast. They're desperate for whatever it is you have, and they may be a little angry at you, or that you're not talking to them, or you're not serving them, or maybe they forget to cancel and they get charged and then they get mad at you for that, right? Like, there's going to be more customer service issues and headaches when you offer a free trial, or any trial for that matter. Okay. When you make the filter, less powerful, then more people get in that may not be the right fit for what you're doing, and that you have to be ready for that. Okay. So yeah, try a free trial, see what happens. I think back now, Jocelyn and I got into real estate last year, mostly me. That was kind of a thing I was trying to get into. I was trying to invest some of this money that we were making online into other things. Like, there's no interest in banks right now. You're just making no money, letting your money just sit around. The stock market's fine for IRAs and things like that, but we're kind of conservative when it comes to like investing. So last year we bought a couple rental houses, and we've been, landlords now for, probably a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And just this month kind of decided, hey, I'm not into this. This is not what I thought it would be. This is not where I want to be at. Don't want to be a landlord anymore. It's going to be a little bit of a hassle now because we're going to sell off some of this property, and we're going to stop doing it. But you know what? We tried it. We know for sure that that's not quite right for us. Okay. So now we can move on to the next thing with confidence, and we never have to worry, man, what if I had tried that? What if we had put some money into this? What would be the return if we had done that? We don't have to think. We don't have to worry, because we did it. We tried it, and we know, right? And sometimes when we get into a decision-making process, the next decision is really, really hard to make because it's left or right. But man, once you just make that first decision and you knock that first domino down, all of your other decisions get easier, because you start eliminating things you don't like and you get to the ones that you do. I remember when I would teach high school in the 20th century, we'd always teach about Edison, and he would always say that quote, the famous Thomas Edison quote, I didn't just discover the light bulb, but I figured out 1,000 types of light bulbs that didn't work. And then all I was left with this one. So I got it right. And that's kind of where you are in your online business. So, I encourage you to try it. Try the free trial. You can cut your list in half and only send it to half your people for a while and try it with them. And then if you don't like it, you can turn it off and you can move on and you go. I'm not saying we're going to have a free trial forever. There's a very good chance at some point we may close the free trial and we might try something else. But right now, it's what we're doing. We're committed to it. We're trying it. We're getting as much data as we can about it. And, if we don't like it, we'll go a different direction, and we'll work it out that way.
I think the bottom line of this question is just test everything.
Yeah.
Just see what works. Like, the main thing for us is that we wanted to remove that barrier of money. So we wanted as many people to come in as possible. And we wanted to remove one of our number one objections is I don't have enough money to do this. And it also helps in other ways too. So like we have a lot of friends and family members. And of course, all of the friends and family members are like, hey guys, you guys are so awesome and you're so friendly. And we want to meet with you and learn everything that you have to know. And, we don't always have time to do that. And so it also gives us an easy way to say, hey, well, you know what? We have a free 30-day trial. You can check out all of our trainings. And, when you get your website done and everything up and running, let us know and we'll meet with you then. Because that happens super often. So, it also gives us a way to say that. So, there are lots of added benefits aside from that. It just helps us to get more leads.
All right, guys, before we get to the next question, we want to debut something here for the Flip Your Life community. Anyone who is at Flip Your Life Live knows what we're talking about here, but we rolled out a new program that just started here in October for Flip Your Life members only, and we call it S&J All Access. We know, and that there are hundreds and hundreds of people in the community helping each other, answering each other's questions, talking to each other. And we have dozens and dozens of people every couple weeks show up on these member calls. And the bigger the community gets, the harder it is sometimes for me and Jocelyn to answer every single question in the community. But we also know that when me and Jocelyn get involved one-on-one with you and your business, huge things happen. Almost every single person we've worked with one-on-one has made great things happen, quit their job, build an income online, and really change their family's future. So, a great piece of advice that I got one time from Cliff Ravenscraft was do for some what you wish you could do for everyone, because we just don't have enough time in our life to do everything for everyone. So we wanted to create a program that would allow more one-on-one help from me and Jocelyn. So at Flip Your Life Live, we launched this new program, and we allowed 20 people. We opened 20 spots into this mastermind. And the cool thing about this mastermind is that it's not one-on-one calls. We're not scheduling anything. We're not spending more time out of our day. We're literally giving people access to us on our cell phones with an amazing app called Voxer, where people can send us messages. We get a beep here that says, hey, there's a message. We hit a button and we literally speak the answer right back to them. We've had some great conversations in the first couple days of the people that joined at Flip Your Life Live. People asking everything from what software should I use from customer service? What direction should I go on my Facebook ads? Hey, could you look over this sales page for me? Hey, Shane, I'm trying to figure out a subject line for my email today. What about these three? Which one would you pick? And we're just rapid fire sending those questions back and having this amazing running conversation. All access to us on our phones through this amazing app called Voxer. Now, we did not have many spots that were not claimed after the event. It was actually kind of, I talked to our live event coordinator. She was in the back of the room when I debuted this. And she said all across the room, screens started popping up everywhere, going to the domain name where we were actually selling this thing. And what we've decided to do for the community, we didn't want you guys to be left out. So we opened up 5 more spots for everybody that wasn't at Flip Your Life Live. You're going to have an opportunity to get into this mastermind. It is a quarterly mastermind where you're working with me and Jocelyn very personally. And there are 5 spots open for that right now for everybody in the community. After these 5 spots go, just like when the spots were gone at Flip Your Life Live, we are shutting this down for registration, and it will be an application process only after these 5 spots are gone. So
and a waiting list.
So, if there's 100 people on the waiting list and you're number 99 and 2 people, are not in this anymore, we only open the spots. There's 2 spots left for the waiting list, and there's 100 people that want them. So there's 5 spots right now. You can go to flippedlifestyle.com/private, flippedlifestyle.com/private to learn more about our private mastermind. It's called All Access with S&J. There's a little video there explaining how it works, what's going on, and you can pick your spot up there as well. Okay, that's flippedlifestyle.com/private. There are 5 spots for everybody in the community left. The people who went to the live event did get first dibs on this, and they filled them up quick. But flippedlifestyle.com/private if you want to grab one of those 5 open spots. And we're going to shut that down this week, and it will be application only starting next week. Okay.
And Jennifer's here in the chat. She says, highly recommend this new program. It has been amazing so far.
Awesome. That's
and we did
amazing.
not ask Jennifer to say that.
And that's just 2 days in, guys. That's just 2 days in, right? Talked to Jennifer this morning. It was pretty cool. We dropped the kids off, and me and Jocelyn were in the Navigator driving home, and we were listening to these messages. Me and Jocelyn were like jamming back and forth, like, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And then we start the conversation back with Jennifer, and we talk back and forth about some different things going on in her business. And then I remember she sent me a message back that says, I know what to do. I'm knocking it out by Friday. I know what I'm doing for the next 6 weeks. Let's do this. And I sent her this big picture of Braveheart and just freedom. Told her she was a rock star. So we have a lot of fun in there. You can do GIFs. GIFs are my favorite. You can do GIFs on Voxer. You can talk on Voxer.
So if you want to receive internet memes from Shane.
If you want me to send you memes full of wisdom and information right here on my cell phone, go to fliptopstyle.com/private. 5 spots left. Okay. All right. Let's get to the next question for today's Q&A.
All right. Our next question is from Kathy. Kathy says, I'm planning on running an evergreen webinar in the background while I continue to blog, provide value, etc. Any tips on how to run an evergreen webinar strategy? I am using an old webinar that I've done live over the summer about classroom management that I feel would be really beneficial to teachers now that school is in full swing. I'm planning on using Facebook for ads and letting my email list know that I have this webinar going on. I would love any tips and advice of how to maximize this strategy.
I want to make sure the most important thing about doing an evergreen webinar is to make sure you have a webinar that converts. So you did that webinar. My first question would be, did you make sales on the webinar? Was there a lot of engagement on the webinar? Okay. And did people respond positively to the webinar or the replays or anything like that? Okay. So make sure that this thing actually converts. Normally we do a webinar 4 or 5 times live before we ever are like, okay, this is the best version of this webinar. And we want to make sure that people are watching it in an evergreen format now. Okay. The next thing you need to do is edit the webinar and make sure that you're not insinuating that it's live, or you've got a disclaimer there that says this is pre-recorded. You know, we don't ever want to be dishonest and acting like things are live. To piggyback that, though, there's a lot of cool like software now in like EverWebinar and other tools where if people ask you a question, it'll like send you an email and you can email them back an answer right there. So it's not live on the video, but you can have access to that. That's a really cool thing to kind of do what doesn't scale. We've got ours set up to where if anybody emails us back on an evergreen webinar, or I'm sorry, they ask a question in the chat, it actually sends me an email in my Gmail inbox so I can respond to people right there, right? And what it'll do is with their registration, I can send them an answer back and it'll email them the answer to make sure that they get heard later. So just make sure you're opening lines of communication. You're being really clear that it's not live, and just make sure that the video itself, the actual webinar, does convert. Like, don't just do a webinar just to get it out of the way and hope it'll convert later. Make sure that it actually does make sales. That's the most important thing, is does it make sales? So your Q&A stuff, you might want to have an email at the end of it that they can send you an email if they have any questions. Just open that dialogue, because anyone that reaches out to you is probably really interested in buying whatever you were selling on the product. Something we told our Flip Your Life Live attendees last week is every single person is only one question away from buying your product. So if you can use your webinar not only to make sales, but to open that door, to open that engagement and say, hey, what's your question? And then they ask you, they're telling you why they're objecting, and you can answer that, and you can get them to make that purchasing decision. So don't treat it like it's just set it and forget it over here by itself and it just makes you sales. Keep doors open from that webinar to you so that you can serve people, answer questions, get them the help they need, and they'll buy stuff from you later.
All right. We had a success story today from Dan. So I wanted to acknowledge that. He says, since Flip Your Life Live Nashville, I started a waiting list for my product. And yesterday I launched my new class. I have 12 people signed up already. I'm teaching the first webinar 1 week from today.
Oh, man. Now, see, there's some backstory here. I need to go on this success story. So during our working dinner that we had after the first day of Flip Your Life Live, we had like a 4-hour session at night from 7 to 11 where we kind of locked everyone in a room and we were all eating candy and popcorn and working on our businesses together.
I like how you said we locked everyone in a room. We were eating candy and popcorn. So it wasn't so bad.
It wasn't so bad being locked in the room with the popcorn machine and all the candy bars. You know what I'm saying? But I go over to Dan, and I remember Dan's wife looked over at me, and she just kind of gave me the nod, like, "Get him, Shane, get him." And so Dan was like, "Yeah, I'm not quite sure when I'm going to do this, when I'm going to do this," and I was just like, "Dude, pre-sell it, launch it. You got a list of people that want this thing. Make this happen. Stop putting it off. Stop being unconfident. Why not go make your first sales? You can pre-sell it, and you can do the course live. You'll just make it 1, 2, 3, 4. Once you sell it to these people, you'll have to do it. No more procrastinating. It's done. It's forever. It's moving forward." And I remember him just laughing and shaking. He's like, "I knew you were going to say this. I knew you were going to tell me to do this." And just really threw the gauntlet down and, challenged him to do it, man. And oh man, I got a message after him and said, "Oh, I got a waiting list." I got another message that said, "Oh, we got the thing." So, dude, congratulations. Amazing example of just taking action and seeing what happens. Like if it's not for sale, you're never going to make sales. So you might as well sell it. And dude, super proud of you, man. It's great stuff.
All right. This next question is from Tanya. Tanya says, if you had a medical condition and limited energy, how would you prioritize your time for building and running your membership?
I would probably lean more toward as much group interaction as possible, because the one-on-one interactions are usually where you're going to spend the most energy. And depending on what the medical condition is, you're just going to have to manage your time effectively. And, I would try to eliminate all the fluff, all the extra bells and whistles, like, this is my product. This is how I sell it. I promote this one thing in this one way, and I go. I wouldn't listen to all the gurus telling me to be everywhere and try all these different things and get 10 different tools. And, I was just having a discussion with my mastermind this morning. We were talking about the complexity of upselling things and one-click upsells, and how to get the software where you click a button and they automatically have their card, and and how to make all this stuff happen in the background to really generate this neat little engine of getting people to buy more things after they buy the first thing. And we kind of came to, and these are high level guys. These are really high level guys that I was talking to, and we were like, at the end, we were kind of like, man, why wouldn't we just send them to a page and have an order for them? Like, why get into all this complexity? Why have all these tools? Yeah, we can do it, but just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should do something. And in your case, if you have a medical condition that's holding you back, you got to simplify. You got to streamline. Someone's going to tell you, "Hey, this made me a lot of money, but it cost me 10 hours of energy a week." Don't do it. I heard another story this morning about a guy that we're kind of in circles with, and he made like $1 million last year. And we were talking about how he did it. Well, he was going to trade shows, and he was traveling like every other week, and he was setting up booths and speaking at the same event. And he had, 4 or 5 people traveling with him, and he had to manage all his team. And we were like, "I ain't doing that. I don't care how much money you give me. I'm not going on the road every 2 weeks and setting up a booth and then speaking at the same time, because that's just way too much energy." Right. So you really got to just narrow it down to what you can do, and understand that might mean it takes you longer to do those things or to succeed. So, work within your limitations and do your best. And there's nothing wrong with growing slowly and just doing it your own way. Okay.
Okay, sorry. I'm talking to Dan about how we are dressed the same.
Are we?
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
I seriously didn't even notice.
Yes. Maybe we just own a lot of black shirts, and it just kind of blends it.
No,
Black is very forgiving
on
camera, guys. So
I was dressed
going
first.
with the black shirt today.
So
you were dressed first. I know you. I slept in this shirt. I changed pants.
well, we are wearing different pants.
I changed shorts into like khaki shorts. So
I'm wearing jean shorts.
You're wearing jean shorts, but I this is literally the shirt I woke up in. So I think that lets me win the I was dressed first for the day.
Yeah, whatever. Okay.
Oh man.
All right. This question is from Jeanette. Jeanette says, "I would love some tips for making sales videos. I like the script, but I look so stiff on video or super hyper with the bouncing head." Do you have any tips?
Don't worry about what the video actually looks like. It's not, you don't have to do perfect on camera for it to matter. Maybe get out of your house, do it in a real setting. Like I got a buddy that does all his sales videos with a selfie cam while he's walking, because he wants to be in the groove and he wants to be moving. And like, just don't worry about it. I mean, you can polish it up a little bit. You can do different videos every few months to try to update it, but it's not really going to make that much of a difference in sales. You're just trying to explain to people what you're doing, so like I wouldn't get too deep into that. I'm much more worried about how I promote the video after than I am what the video looks like, because that's going to make more of a difference. The more people that see that video, the more people are going to buy it. Let's say you have 1,000 people watch that video and you convert it at 5%. Okay. What's 5% of 1,000, Jocelyn? 5 times 50? Is that right?
Okay, listen,
50.
we're answering a question for a math person.
Yeah, I got
so,
you. I'm going 50. Okay. So let's say that your perfect video increases that by 1% and you go up to 6%. You're only adding 10 people. Or you just promote the same video to 1,000 more people and you make 50 more sales. So don't get caught up in this. I say this all the time. Design doesn't matter as much as you think it does. Perfect production doesn't produce money like you think it does. Okay. What really makes things happen is a great product that's the right offer for the right people, and you get that offer in front of them. That's what's actually going to sell your product. I'm reading this amazing book. It's actually right here. It's called, what is this book called?
Don't mess with my phone.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. It's called the Halbert Copywriting Method. And the whole first part of that book is just about get your product offer right. It's not magic. You're not going to trick people into buying your thing just because of your production values. You're going to make money based on the right offer in front of the right people. And that's what you need to focus on. So don't get stuck on this.
I would say just practice as much as possible, because that is the one thing that has really helped me. And the thing about it is you will always be a lot more critical of yourself than anybody else will be. So like you'll look at it and say, oh, I look so stiff, or I look so forced, or whatever. But somebody else would watch that and think that it's probably totally fine. So another thing that I would say is if there's a way for you to record without seeing yourself while you're recording, that's something that helps me sometimes if I don't have to look at myself, because if I'm looking at myself, I get distracted by if I look crazy, if I have a double chin or whatever, I get distracted by all those things instead of doing what I should be doing, which is recording content and not worrying about all those other little things. So practice some more. Sometimes I've seen some people who will bring another person with them and basically let them stand behind the camera. So maybe just recruit one of your kids and talk to them. So that way it's like you're talking to a person, rather than just a blank computer screen. So maybe try one of those ideas, but overall just practice and try not to worry about it so much, all those little things that all of us worry about.
All right, let's jump into the next question.
All right. Let's see. Our next question is from Horit. I hope I said that right. It says, I'm a teacher living in Jamaica. Yay.
We were just in Jamaica. We should have totally found you a coffee or something.
And it says, any ideas on how to get paid while in Jamaica? So I'm not sure if you mean like the logistics of how to get paid or like what to sell. I think you probably mean the logistics of how to get paid.
Overseas, usually most of the people that we talk to in other countries are using PayPal. I'm not sure specifically about Jamaica. That might be something that we'll have to look up in the forums, because we'll have to do a little bit of research for that. But it's going to be something to do with your exchanges and things like that, and the banking of your country. And most of the time Stripe or PayPal work pretty much anywhere. And then it's just a matter of getting it routed into your bank accounts. I mean, I saw lots of normal banks in Jamaica and stuff like that. I'm not exactly sure about this question, so this might be better for the forums.
I did a quick Google search, just can I use PayPal in Jamaica? And it looks like you can do that. I think usually when you're in a foreign country that PayPal will give you funds in US dollars, which is not necessarily the worst thing.
Yeah.
A lot of times people will leave their PayPal money in their PayPal account. I think Kat does this. Kat lives in Australia, and maybe she can talk in the chat here, but I believe she leaves her US dollars in the PayPal account and then uses them for various purchases. So, there's a lot of different options of how to get paid.
And if you're in a foreign country, we have a lot of friends that have been to Thailand and worked for a while, or in Jamaica or in Mexico or in these other places. Most of the time exchanging, you can make out like gangbusters. If you can make American money while you're in these other emerging economies or places where the economy is a little bit different, like you can really make out like gangbusters because you're getting the benefits of the exchange rate, plus you're living in a place where things cost less. And so if you live in another country and you're going after that American market, and you've got, you're taking advantage of the the exchange rates between the US dollar and the currency in your local area, you can really make a lot of money. Like Jocelyn and I have even talked about, 10 years from now or whatever, when the kids graduate and they're in college or they're gone or what have you. And we've talked about moving to a place like Costa Rica or Panama or Jamaica or anywhere, because you can still make money through the internet in America, but you get to live in a place that's a lot cheaper. We actually do that a little bit here because in Kentucky, everything is so much cheaper, especially where we live. So we get to make money, on the internet anywhere in the world, anywhere in the country. But, our dollar goes a lot farther here. So there's a lot of advantages to being overseas and selling things online, especially when you're selling it into like better economies with better currency.
Yeah. So the question is about the logistics of it, that there are issues about having a U.S. account. Yeah, I understand
Sure.
what you're saying. So probably the way to get the most up-to-date information is just to do a Google search and look for 2018. Like usually, I just found an article for 2014, but it might not be,
My buddy
relevant for today.
Chris from Canada does this. He actually set up banking in America at an American bank, got a credit card through the bank and everything. But I think he had to physically come here to do it. Okay. So this is a really complex question, but let me encourage you. All problems can be solved. There is someone in Jamaica right now making money like this. And if they can do it, you can do it. If we decided to move to Jamaica right now, we would say, here's the result we want. We want to be able to take money and get it into our bank account in Jamaica. We would solve that problem, and we would not rest until we did it. And you can do the same thing. So it's not a matter of if it's hard. It probably is. It's not a matter of if it's difficult. It probably is. It's a matter of, are you willing to do whatever it takes to set up the infrastructure to let you make money online, even though you live in Jamaica? If you're willing to do that, you will find a way to make it happen. Okay.
Yeah. And it may involve sitting on the phone with customer service. It may involve emailing people. Like, just find a way to make it work.
Imagine if it took you every minute of every day for 4 months to make this happen, but then every day for the next 4 years, you got to make money online. You got to be self-employed. You got to live where you want. You got to make money selling what you want to the people you wanted to sell it to. And all it cost you was 4 months of hard work. But from then on, it's cake, right? That's investing in your future. That's investing your time into your business and making it happen. So get after it. You can do it. All right, guys. Want to make sure we remind everybody our private mastermind is open, fliplifestyle.com/private. This is to join S&J All Access. We want to make sure that you have an opportunity to work with us one-on-one to make sure you get all your questions answered, not just some of them. So go to fliplifestyle.com/private. This will be an application-only waiting list after this week or after those 5 spots are gone. We would love to work with you one-on-one, just like we work with a bunch of our members right now. Some of them are here today if you want to ask them questions about the program, and we'd love to work with you too.
All right, our next question is from Carrie. Carrie says, if I am doing a joint webinar, what is the best way to pitch products? Should I repeat the webinar and do a separate pitch each time, or just pick smaller products so attendees can choose what works best for them? We do not want to try to bundle and split the payment. It is too complicated.
Okay. So joint webinars. Does she mean joint webinar
Like
with somebody
another
else?
person? Yes.
Okay. The general rule is only sell one thing ever, but there's nothing wrong with pitching a different thing on the next webinar. So if you're going to do this, like let's say that you and your friend have 2 different but complementary products, then you would do 2 separate webinars where you would sell one thing to one person and one thing, or sell one thing one time and one thing another time. You don't want to bundle. You don't want to sell like, hey, here's the end of the webinar. Here's your 5 things you could buy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, don't do that. We actually tried to do this with a product like earlier in the year, where we had 3 different things we were selling at the end of this presentation for it. And it was a rock solid disaster. Like, it was totally confusing. Nobody knew what to buy, and it was just mass confusion. So anytime you do a webinar, sell one thing at the end of it. And then if you want to do it again, just do another webinar and sell that thing too. I would guess that you would have to change the webinar a little bit because it's a different product though. So you're probably going to have 2 different presentations for 2 different things, you know?
Yeah, and you can always direct people to your other products. It just gets a little bit messy with the payment. Like, you have to decide, am I going to split everything with this other person, or are we going to just split the revenue off this one product that
Yeah.
we're promoting? So you just need to have an agreement in place ahead of time and just make sure that everyone is clear on the expectations. And
this was Carrie,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. I actually remember I've talked to the person you're working with about this. So here's what you guys can do. What you can do is you can do one webinar to your, both lists or whatever and sell the one product. But then when you get to the thank you page, sell the other thing. So like Carrie, when you're doing the webinar about your thing, you sell your thing. But when all the people that buy it go ahead on the thank you page and sell your joint venture partner's thing, right? Then do it backwards. Sell her thing on the next webinar, and then all the people that buy it, you can sell it, they upsell into the other thing, right? So then it kind of keeps them separate. So you're chaining them together, not selling them at the same time. Now you can downsell in the same way. Like say, Carrie, you do yours, right? And you pitch it. All the people that don't buy, that rejected your offer, send them a follow-up email after, a couple days and say, hey, well, what about this thing? Right. So that's how you can create more of a symbiotic relationship, but only pitch one thing at a time, is to chain them together in different ways. Okay.
All right. The next question is from Paul. Paul says, how is the free trial going versus a $1 trial? I'm concerned people won't take action if they don't have skin in the game.
Okay, so that's your job in the first month, is to get people to take action and onboard and upsell, and you have to say, I've got to make this happen so they get to the point where they're going to put skin in the game. Okay, it's the same thing as walking through the mall and you walk by the bourbon chicken, Chinese food place. There's always a guy standing in front of it with a bunch of those bourbon chickens on a toothpick, and he's going to give you the first one for free, and then he's going to point to where you have to go next to get the rest of it and give them money. So that's you're the dude standing in front of the bourbon chicken joint with a bunch of chicken with toothpicks. That's your job. That is your new role in the free trial, right? So that's what you're trying to do. So you've got to guide them to that. And it's not the same thing as giving people all of your product forever for free. Those people won't take action. This is just the first step in them getting to the place where they will invest in themselves and pay the monthly thing. As for numbers, there was a drop off of about 5 to 10% of people that renewed from the $1 trial from the free trial the first month. So like it was like 62% with the $1 trial would always renew, and then it would drop down to like 52%. So, but you get so many more free trials than you do dollar trials that it kind of just works out in the wash where it's better. Okay.
Yeah. So I think that for your question, Paul, I think that the quality of leads with the dollar trial, or like some form of payment trial, the quality of leads is probably better, but the quantity of leads is better with the free trial. So one of the things that has been a little bit frustrating for us with the free trial is that we have a lot of people take the free trial, but then they have like no intention of staying. So the only thing that they care about is, how do I cancel before the billing cycle? Which is fine. I mean, we are offering a free trial. We get it. That's going to happen. But like, I feel like if you're more concerned about not getting billed than you are about taking action during the 30 days, you're probably not a good fit for this program.
And we actually have been unsubscribing those people from our list as soon as we cancel them. Like we don't even have them in our marketing anymore. They're just out because that person is just not ready for this, and they can find us later and reapply and everything they want to do. So you do have to have thicker skin, guys, if you want to make more money. If you want to open the door and you want more, the more people you let in, the more you're opening yourself for, some dead weight, some people who are more critical, some people who are just angry about life, and and some people are going to join your free trial just so they can give you unsolicited critiques. They just want to. They want to stick it to you. They want to do something. They're mad about your success. They're mad that they can't do it. They're mad because you're charging and they want to charge, or they can't afford what you're charging for. And that's cool, man. It's like, you have to be able to accept some of that. Your shields have to go up a little bit, and your skin has to get you got to hulk up a little bit before you do a free trial, because you got to be ready for it. So I would say some of you are probably not to the point yet where you're ready for that kind of customer service stuff. And you might want to have a paid trial, because there's nothing wrong. Like 2 years ago, we never would have been ready for a free trial. Like mentally, emotionally, maturity wise, like we wouldn't have been ready to do it. That's why we didn't do it. So, don't think the free trial is an easy button, and don't think it's magic just because we do it. Sometimes you got to do what we did and don't do what we do now. You might want to try it. Like I got a buddy, he's doing a trial. He was asking me about a free trial, and we decided it would be better for him to go with a $9 trial, because he wasn't ready. He has no customer service support. He's doing all his own customer service. And I said, bro, you're going to be in there every day. You're going to see some negative comments. It's just going to happen. You're going to see a lot of positive. There's going to be a lot of good things too, but we're humans, and the negative outweighs the positive. You got to be really careful about your emotional and willpower fuel tank and people draining it, right? You don't want those energy vampires in there sucking you dry if you're not ready for it. So we can handle it a little bit. Our audience is big enough now where we get criticized about things anyway.
Well, and
so,
we have help answering our customer service too. So, we're shielded from a lot of that, but a lot of new things have come up since we've started this. Situations that we haven't had to deal with in the past will start to come up, and we'll have to figure out ways to deal with them.
If you do a free trial, your terms and conditions will evolve. I promise you that. So be ready for it. But yeah, I mean, listen, like I said, try it, don't try it, be ready for it, and evolve. And if you don't like it, you can switch to something else same way.
All right. All right. And speaking of Paul, I wanted to talk about his success story also. He had posted a success story, and he says, I crossed the 20 member mark.
Hoorah.
I briefly had 21. I think that adding webinars and member calls will be next.
That's amazing. Good job, dude. 20 members, man.
Cool.
Yeah. We always tell everybody 20 is the first mark, then 50. And then when you get to 100, crazy things happen. So double down, Paul, on whatever's working, whatever got you those 20 members. Do it prolifically, do it consistently, do it over and over and over again, and chase that 100 mark down so you can flip your life, brother.
All right. And as just a continuation of that discussion, Carrie said, people are going to find excuses not to have to part with the money to continue. It brings negativity.
Yes.
And yeah, that's exactly it. And here's the thing, like, if you're listening to this and you think to yourself, well, I would really like to join the free trial, but they apparently don't want me to. No, that's not true. Like, we want people to come in, and we want them to take action in that 30 days. If they can't afford to continue, like, we understand, but it's the people who come in on day 1 and they're like, how do I cancel on day 29?
Which does happen.
And if you're more worried about that than taking action during the 30 days while you're here, then you're probably not a good fit for this program.
Also, too, like, you can't take, how can I say this nicely? Nah, I just won't say it nicely. You can't take other people's failures as your failure. Like, it's not your fault that they are trying to look for the easy button. It's not your fault that they can't afford it. Like, it may not be their fault that they can't afford it. And maybe that one free month gets them to a point where 6 months later they can afford it. But like, you cannot take any of this personally when you open the doors to your community. Heck, when you start a business and you sell anything to anybody, you can't take anything personally. 99% of any like customer complaints or criticism, we usually can kind of see through it and see that it's them and not us, right? And we can't take it personally. We just got to move on, serve them, get the ticket solved as quick as possible, and go on to the next people who are doing it, who are ready, who are taking action. So you got to be neutral with customer service. We're getting into a deeper issue here than this is free trial, so we'll rein this back into our next question. But like, customer service is hard. Customer service, people don't usually fill out a customer service ticket to tell you how awesome everything is. It's because they're canceling. It's because something's wrong. It's because they can't get logged in and they're frustrated. It's like reviews. Like, most of the time, people only leave reviews that are like complaining about something unless they're getting paid to leave the review, right? So you can,
or unless they leave a review for us, because
it's awesome. And all of our reviews are
our
good.
podcast is that
like
awesome.
We have like 100% positive reviews on our podcast, right?
But if you haven't left us a review
on
please
iTunes,
do so.
Go do that. Good segue. But like, don't take this stuff personally. You've got to have thick skin. Not everyone is going to like you, no matter how likable you are. Okay. And that's just the way it is. So get ready for it. be prepared for it, and focus on the 99% of people who are taking your advice and doing what you tell them to do.
All right. This question is from Laura. Laura says, to get the most out of my ad spend, could I run an ad to 2 closely related topics or pain points for my niche? So when they click on the ad, they can opt into one of 2 webinars instead of just opting into one. Is that a thing? Do people do this? Like instead of deciding whether or not to register, it would be which one to register for. I'm trying to get more out of my ad spend by offering 2 webinar options from one landing page.
What would be a better way to do that? This kind of we have a rule. We only sell one thing. And when you're trying to get an opt-in, you're selling the opt-in, right? So if you got one ad that leads to a webinar, those two things should be so related that if they click the ad, the next logical step is that webinar. It doesn't make sense to sell them something else. But what you can do in almost every webinar software, landing page software, or even WordPress with a plugin is when if they get there and they don't want to sign up for that webinar and they start raising that mouse toward the exit or the back button, you can do an exit intent pop-up. Okay, they've rejected that webinar. Let them reject it and then go back. Then a pop-up comes up and says, well, hey, wait a minute. If that doesn't serve you, what about this? That's going to catch, another 5 to 10% of whatever it is. But you're probably better off just running another ad to another webinar and keep the same thing. The cleaner you keep that line from discovery to purchase, and there's not too many options, right? Then you got a problem. Like, we don't want them to have multiple options. Too many options actually confuses buyers. You don't want them to have tons of options. You always want them to have what to do next. Oh, you want this? Oh, you reject that. What about this? You're always wanting that next step. Don't offer things like at the same time because that's going to be confusing. It's not the same thing as a price anchor, right? A price anchor is like you give people 2 options for a price, like $1,000 or $99 a month, right? Well, you really want them to do the $99 a month. You're trying to get them to reject one thing to land on the other. It's not the same thing with content. You're just gonna confuse them. Okay, so get the opt-in, get the email, get the exit intent pop-up, but only sell one thing at a time. You're going to do a lot better that way. And it's going to be easier in your brain to manage it all because now once you get them on your email list, you can daisy chain those things together 100 times from Sunday and just keep going over and over again. But I personally wouldn't try to, if you want to give them an option, give them multiple times that they can go watch the same content, but don't give them like multiple pieces of content, right? I don't think we ever did that for anything, did we? Did you ever give people like multiple? Like, I don't think you did for even, it was almost in the emails.
No,
you just send them out.
Usually I would just send out like emails to different webinars. So yeah, I don't think I've ever done that before.
Yeah, once they opt in,
I think giving people choices sometimes is not a good thing.
Yeah.
Especially if they're not super familiar with you. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. They clicked the ad to be at that content. And if they reject it, maybe their browser just closed. You don't know why. So yeah, don't confuse your customer.
All right. This question is from Grant. It says, I'm really trying to get back onto the online business wagon after falling off for the last month. And I posted an action plan this morning. Beyond the action plan forum, getting a legit accountability partner is something I've mulled around. I like that, mulled around, but haven't seriously pursued yet. For someone who struggles with consistency, do you think this would be worthwhile? And how do I go about finding the right person?
Okay. Here's a little bit of the illusion of accountability partners. It's one thing to have an accountability partner and you get together and you start doing this and you're like, let's keep each other in check. But if you don't have consequences to not doing the thing, you're probably not going to do it anyway. Like if you have a deep relationship with someone who you respect and that's your accountability partner, then yeah, that might work, but like even that, like, I got a mastermind group. We hold each other accountable and like, by telling each other what we're doing and, we're kind of chasing each other's greatness and try to do these different things. But like, if I told them I was going to do something, I didn't do it, there wouldn't really be a consequence there. If I tell Jocelyn I've got to do something, there is a consequence because I'm letting her down.
That's right.
Yeah, there is lots of consequences, but like I'm letting her down. If I tell my son or my daughter that I'm going to pick them up after school and I don't show up, there's an emotional consequence to me not doing that, right? So any accountability or any deadline has to have hard consequences to it, or you're probably not going to do it. You know, it's why we charge for the Flip Your Life community. It's why this isn't a charity. It's not just because we want to make money, which we do, but it's because, you know, if you go pay your hard-earned money to get into a community and you post an action plan, it's not that you're really even holding yourself accountable to the people who read that, which you are a little bit, but it's like, I paid for this. Like I put my money down. I put skin in the game. I bet on myself. And if I don't take action on this, if I don't go watch those courses, if I don't go post questions in the forums, if I don't go answer, you know, go get in with other people and reply and get an accountability partner and do my action plan and celebrate if I don't do these things, I set my Ben Franklin on fire. Like that's what that's for, is to give that accountability to it. Right. So you've got to find some accountability with consequences, and you've got to have an accountability partner that's really going to hold your feet to the fire and let you do that. So, you know, it's one, don't just go out and find a random partner. That's not going to help you in any way.
And I would say, you know, our community is a really good place to find someone to be an accountability partner. So I would just maybe do a post. You need to understand yourself. It's something that's really important when you're finding an accountability partner. You don't want someone who's just like you. So, you know, for Shane, he doesn't need somebody who is all big picture thinking and has lots of ideas, because that wouldn't be a good partner for him. For me, I don't need to find someone who gets stuck in all the little details and worries about every little thing. Like that would be a bad partner for me, because that's the way that I am. So you really need someone who compliments you where you're weakest. And sometimes it means taking a hard look in the mirror and saying, okay, who am I? And where are my weaknesses, and who could effectively complement that?
You also don't really want just friends or people you like to be in your mastermind or accountability group. You don't want people who are going to be like, yes, men, and good job, and well done, son, all the time. You want people that are going to challenge you in two ways. One, they're going to challenge you like straight up, like you're not doing the right thing. Like I've had people in my accountability group look me square in the eye and say, shut up, quit talking, listen to me. And everyone else is nodding their head. So I do it. And I respect them so much that I listen to them when they challenge me. And I want that. Right. But you also have to be surrounded by people who you're competitive with. That's why I am not afraid to get into a mastermind group with people who are selling the exact same thing as me. I want people in my niche. One of my best mastermind partners back in the day, we were both football coaches. We sold the same playbook. It was like the same defense, basically. And we were in a mastermind together, and we challenged each other, and we competed with each other. And that's what drove us to do it. You know, like get that competition going with your group. It's not just a support group where we're sitting around going, kumbaya, we're all good business people, right? We're not doing that. We're like, you suck. You need to do this better. Hey, I just beat you last week. I made $10,000 more than you. Let's go. We sold a business last year, for a lot of money. It was like 7 figures. My buddy, he sells his business. He sells equity in his business for more than that. And I'm competitive. I'm like, oh gosh, I thought we had reach the mountaintop. Now there's a bigger mountain. Let's go climb that one, right? Like, so surround yourself with people who are going to be no nonsense and challenge you, and surround yourself with people who you want to compete with and you want them to elevate your game.
And you're in a great place for it. I mean, this community is full of amazing people. You just need to find the right one who is going to both challenge you and encourage you to move forward.
All right, cool. Next question. What number are we on right now?
All right. This is number 12.
All right, cool. Wow, we've been rolling today.
All right, this question is from Melanie. Melanie says, you have previously said that you often do a video and then overlay a presentation over it for your trainings. What software do you use to do this? If it is Mac software, is there something comparable in PC?
Okay, the software that we use is Upwork.com. We hire someone to do it for us. So like go to Upwork, you probably pay like $40. And some people will even make the PowerPoint for you. Like that's what we hired out last time we did this. I actually don't do a video. I just record it like a podcast in GarageBand. So it's an MP3. And then I send the MP3 with the audio and my outline to the person who's going to make the PowerPoint. And then they probably use something like Camtasia to take the PowerPoint and the audio file and like hit the slides as they go. But that's what we do. We hired out completely. If I was going to do it myself, I would record the audio first. And then I would make the PowerPoint, and then I would use something like Camtasia to put it together. But I tell you honestly, if I was going to do it myself, I would just record it with the PowerPoint. The reason that we started making courses like that is because the longest part of making any presentation, whether you're speaking live, doing a webinar, doing a PowerPoint, anything like that, is making the actual PowerPoint. Like that takes hours and hours and hours of work. Or I can take 20 minutes to make an outline, turn on the recorder, and I can just record myself going through the outline and let somebody else clean up the audio, make the PowerPoint, and then put them together. So if you're going to do all that, I would just make the PowerPoint and record it in one take yourself and then edit it and clean it up. We did this to save time. That's why we make courses like that, where it's just outline, audio, give it to someone else to make the PowerPoint, and then give the PowerPoint and the audio file to an editor to put them together. I would much rather spend a couple $100 doing that for a course than spending 20 hours making the PowerPoint, doing the audio, editing it myself. Especially if it's something you're going to sell forever.
You know, if you're not at the point where you're ready to do that, you can certainly do it yourself. You can use a software called Camtasia, which I believe is available on Mac and PC.
Yeah.
That is one that we use when we do similar types of projects. So, you know, that's definitely an option if you are not ready to hire someone just yet.
Let me give you a tip on PowerPoint. So if you are at the point where you're doing it yourself, you're going to have to make the PowerPoint. You're going to have to go through it and record it in real time and then edit it. But what I would do now, if I didn't have that resource, is I would make the simplest PowerPoint possible. Like 3 bullet points on black and white, maybe a little description, like I'd love a picture here of a butterfly flying through a field or whatever, and then go to Fiverr.com and find someone who pretties up PowerPoints. There's a lot of people that'll do that for cheap, and get them to go make the slides for you to where they look good. So, because I'm telling you, it takes so long to get a PowerPoint right, it's just not worth it. And most people who watch courses are not going to even sit and look at the PowerPoint. They're going to listen to it. So it's just really not important for it to be this perfect. You get every slide, you know, perfectly right. You'd rather just like put bullet points on 50 slides, send it to a guy, give him $50. He puts all the pretty pictures in it for you and move on.
Another option, hire a high school student, hire a college student, hire one of your kids if you have kids that are old enough.
Yeah.
You know, get somebody who can do this really time consuming work for an inexpensive price.
And it's not just time consuming. It's like you get that's where you get stuck. Because, you know, you're like, oh man, I got this perfect idea of a slide in my mind. I'm on Google for 45 minutes.
But I can't get the animation to work.
The only picture that I can find is $20. And, you know, it's like don't mess with that stuff. Like, just record and let someone else clean it up for you. It's so much faster to do it that way.
This is actually number 12.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, this question is from Brian. Brian says, we have 5,000 email subscribers who opted in to receive our free math resource. However, only 8 people bought our one-off product, which is a $40 bundle of math resources in the initial autoresponder sequence. What are ways to improve conversion rates on the autoresponder sequence?
So they have 5,000 emails and only 8 people are buying in the automated sequence, right? My guess is, so they're opting in for the free resource and then they're getting this bundle. Is that what he said?
Yeah, so it's a bundle of math resources.
My guess is you're gonna have to break that apart. The next here's what usually happens there. The next logical step is not to buy that bundle. I mean, it's just not. Like, they've proven it to you. So whatever that first resource is, the next logical step is something else. Because like I'll give you an example from my U.S. history site. So we got this big autoresponder sequence set up, right? If you opt in for a Civil War lesson plan, the next thing that we ask you to do is not to opt in for the entire year. The next thing is the Civil War unit. Because if you download a resource about the Gettysburg Address and then you want to teach more about the Civil, my next thing is not World War II. You don't care about that. You're not teaching that. So my next thing is the unit. And then once you buy the unit, I know the next thing is probably the rest of the year, right? So you've got a gap that you're going to have to fill in there with your audience, and you got to figure out what the next best logical thing for them to buy is before that bundle. That it's too big of a jump. They're rejecting it. So there's got to be something in between that bridges that gap between the one free thing and the next. It's always the next step. You're apparently trying to sell them 3 steps later, and you've got to sell them whatever comes next.
I would be curious to know if it is the email too. So like, how many of those 5,000 people have actually gotten to that email?
Yeah.
So I would be curious if maybe you were to put that bundle on your thank you page for opting into the email sequence. Hey, thanks for opting in. Here is a special one-time offer that we can give to you. it's, X dollars for Y resources, and just let them decide there if they want it. Now, that might be something to look into and just see if that improves the conversion, because I wonder if those 5,000 people are even getting that far. Like maybe the email's going to spam. Maybe they just aren't opening it because of the subject line. Like, I feel like you can't really judge the conversion rate on the 5,000 people, because I don't think all 5,000 people open that particular
Yeah.
email.
It's still pretty low, though. I'll be honest with you. Like, I mean, only 5 conversions of that many emails. And also, how old are the emails? Like, was this a first time? Did you just get these 5,000 emails? Have these been collected over 10 years? And, like what's happening with those email addresses is all going to be a part of the equation. But there's a reason they're rejecting it. I mean, if 500 people have opened it and 5 bought, that's still probably a little too low.
It's usually a pricing issue or a marketing issue or some combination of the two.
Something's wrong in between there. You just got to figure out what the bridge is. I guess it would be like us saying, "Hey, we have a membership. Join for lifetime for $5,000 or something like that." Like you're just jumping too far, or something's not connecting in there with the people who are opening that email.
All right. This question is from Amber. Amber says, my husband is starting up a business for basketball out of bounds plays. He's had 30 plays professional Sorry, I don't know what's wrong
Start
with me
over.
today.
All right, so the next question is
Okay, let's just start this one over.
Let's just start over.
My husband is starting up a business for basketball out of bounds plays. He's had 30 plays professionally recorded by a videographer of those plays being demonstrated. There will be voiceover recording describing the plays and how to best utilize your players in their position. He has one free play to use as an opt-in bonus. Our biggest question moving forward is on pricing. He's stuck on how to price the package of 30 plays.
You could probably base the pricing off of industry like standards. I know in sports, Coach's Choice Video. Gosh, I can't remember that other.
There
company.
are millions of books about this.
Like Nike clinics, things like that. Like, and you can also do creative pricing with something like that. This probably isn't a totally whole business necessarily. This is probably just the first product in a product line for basketball coaches. I'm assuming that you're going to sell this to like, youth coaches and things like that. So, you could go with industry standard stuff. You could go check out some similar products on Amazon, go to Coach's Choice Video, check out your competitors and see what they're charging for this, but don't be afraid to charge more, especially if it's really high quality, or you've got some kind of value add, like, get a season pass with your husband, Amber, and like they can basically send him an email anytime to ask him questions during the basketball season about these things. Like that's a way to justify a higher price of like, maybe $97 or something like that. And, you could say like, well, they're $5 per play or something like that. There's a lot of different ways to just position it. But check the industry you're in, check what your competitors are charging, and then just pick a price and go with it. If this is going to be a product that leads to something later, don't go totally high end at the very beginning, because you want to give your people room to grow and go somewhere else.
Yeah, and I would say just look at competitors is probably going to be the best basis for pricing in this situation. There will be competitors on this.
Yeah. And if you get really stuck on the pricing, just pick $50 and try to sell it. If I ever get stuck on pricing, I'm just like, let's try $50.
Just choose something.
Yeah, like let's just see what happens. And if a lot of people buy it, we'll charge more. And if nobody buys it, we'll charge less.
All right, we just had a success story come in from Jeff. It says, just got a speaking gig while on this call.
Yeah, baby. I love it when people are throwing success stories during the Q&A with S&J.
He says, most I've ever been paid so far. I bumped my fees after Flip Your Life Live just because I think the higher fee made me more credible.
That is amazing. Like, isn't that crazy? Like when you raise prices and you get more opportunities. We say that all the time in the forums, on these calls, on our podcast, but don't sell yourself short. Like, you're worth it. If you have knowledge and wisdom that somebody else needs, they will pay you for it. And oh man, congratulations. That's amazing.
All right. The next question is from Alex. Alex says, I'm getting ready to launch my membership in the next 2 weeks. My list is about 2,000 people and my open rate is typically around 20%. I know this must vary on the niche, but how many people typically convert into customers from an email list?
I mean, you can always say 5 to 10% is what you're shooting for. You know, no list is going to produce like 50% conversions or anything like that. So
Typical conversion on a list that is warm, meaning that they've been opening, that you haven't not emailed them in a year, in other words, is about 3 to 5%.
yeah, that's just where it's going to be at. You know, you can shoot for the high end and go for it, but that's how a lot of these people make money. Like some of the biggest marketers in the world who have like a million, like literally a million emails on their list, they may be getting like 5% open rates, but it's the law of large numbers. 5% of a million is a whole lot of people opening an email. And then if you can get 5% of a million of the 5%, then you're going to get a lot of sales, right? So, don't really worry about, I've never worried about open rates, and we don't worry too much even totally about those conversions. Our mission is to get as many people as possible to discover us and get as many people to click on our stuff and get as many people to give us the opt-in, because the more you get, the more people you get on that list, the more people are going to buy it, right? And especially with this being your launch, you're going to be able to have a baseline now to improve. So let's say, for example, that 1% of your list. How many people did you say was on the list?
I think it's female Alex, but
Alex, okay.
2,000 people.
Okay, so let's say it's 1%. What is that, 20? Okay. If you get 20 people and 1%, you now know the baseline, right? So you can go now and tweak and change and try and split test some things and see what works better. And the next time you relaunch 3 months later, you get 2%. Oh, improvement, right? So anytime you're launching, you're creating the baseline. So have zero expectations. Have no expectations. See what happens. Don't worry about comparing yourself to industry standards or anybody else. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, do it and then compare yourself to yourself. Just like if you were playing golf, like you're just trying to beat yourself. You can't worry about what everybody else is doing.
And I totally agree with that, but you can use those standards as a baseline. So like, if you have been doing this for a long time and you're getting like a 1% conversion rate, then probably something's wrong.
Yeah.
If you're not getting at least 3%. So, the biggest thing is just don't get hung up on this. Like, so many people are like, well, I'm not doing 3 to 5%. I might as well just give up. No, like, change something and see if you can get there,
Yeah, also too, don't get caught up with percentages, because like, some people are like, oh man, I get a 20% open rate, but they have 100,000 emails. So it's like, awesome. Some people, it's less. Like, don't, it's just about you. It's your game, right? Are you making the money you want? Are you making the sales you want? How can you get one more sale? How can you get 2 more sales? How can you get 100 people to give you $50? Like, don't worry what percentage gives it. If you get 100 people to give you $50 and that was your goal, who cares what the percentages are? You're making the money that you want to make. So just go get what you need to get to make a living and don't get caught up in the percentages.
All right. This question is from Eric. He says, how do you plan for attrition in your membership site when creating your business plan?
Well, all people eventually quit. I mean, that's just life. I mean, so you what you have to do, don't worry about attrition. The most important stat that you can get is your lifetime value. Like, once you know your lifetime value, you can make all the other decisions. So let's say our lifetime value is $600. Okay. Well, if I know that every customer is worth $600 on average, now I can make decisions like, well, how much do I spend on ads? Well, I'm losing X people a month. So that's going to cost me, if I'm losing 10 people a month, that's going to cost me 10 times $6,000 in revenue this year. Well, I need to spend $3,000 to get 11 people every month so I can replace all those people, right? So it's just more like knowing the number of attrition just helps you make decisions on how to promote better. Like, we know how many people we lose every month on average, but so I don't have to replace like all hundreds and hundreds of people every month. I just have to replace those 10 to 20, right? So that's the only time attrition really comes into play, is it's a part of lifetime value, really, and how many people we need to like replace and how hard we have to work to replace them.
And if you're just getting started with your membership, like, it's going to take you a little while to know those numbers. So just know that, everyone's not going to stay every month. We all know that. And just give it some time to kind of really know your numbers down. And, there are always things that you can do to improve your retention rate. And, just take that into account as you're planning.
Yeah. So you're looking ahead basically at your membership saying, predictable, stable income. I know that most people stay 6 months. Therefore, I can predict if I have this many members, I will have this much income in the next 6 months. I can also predict that if I didn't do anything in 6 months, I would have no members. So I have to replace those people every single month. Memberships are not magic. they represent stability. They represent predictability. Everyone will always leave, so you're always going to have to work to replace them. It's just easier than living launch to launch.
All right. This question is from Colin. Colin says, I'm a new member, excited to be here. Welcome, Colin.
Welcome, Colin. Glad to have you, buddy.
Colin says, I'm in a niche, kitchen and bath planning, design, remodeling that has two possible audiences, a consumer audience and a designer audience. The consumer side, I think, has a potentially huge audience, and I would market an ebook to them and a course, but I'm not sure how to structure it, about planning the space versus the designer audience, which would be tips and tricks and possibly a course or two for designers in the design software we use. So, a potentially large audience with small and expensive products versus a potentially smaller audience but potentially higher cost products. I'm just getting started, so I have no audience in either segment. I'm trying to figure out which one to pursue first.
I mean, if you go with one really cool niche, by the way, like I love our community. I say this all the time because we don't just have people coming in who are like doing a yoga pose and floating and they're like the life coach of the century. It's like, no, I'm helping people design their kitchen. Like that's an amazing like niche I've never even heard of before. So really cool. I think you're going to have to target the DIY people, right? Like, are you targeting people that are designing it to get a designer to build it, or are you giving it to people to like do it themselves? Like that's a decision you're going to have to make. We personally usually make the decision of the bigger audience, even though it's a lower price, because I want more protection built into my business. If I have 1,000 members and 100 of them leave, I've still got 900 members. You know, that might hurt me. But if I have 10 customers in a month and 2 of them leave, that could hurt because I'm losing 20%. You know, I'm losing all those people paying this one price. Like I just don't like to lose like one of a small amount. I'd rather lose a few of a big amount. So that's kind of that's usually the mass market we pick. I don't know if it's right in your space because I'm not sure if anyone would give money for that. You know, would you pay to learn how to design your kitchen if you weren't doing it yourself?
I don't know. I would say look at competitors out there. I think that the ideal answer for this situation is probably to eventually do both audiences. But I would look at what people are searching for. I would look at what is being sold out there competitively in both spaces and what they're charging for it. And that could give you an idea of which direction would be best to go. If you want to post about this in the general discussion.
Okay, he's got a follow-up comment here in the chat.
Okay.
Colin says, giving them info before they go to the cabinet place, like before they go to the place that's going to design the kitchen, to kind of educate them. That feels a little vitamin-y to me, you know, like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, because I'm gonna learn a little bit about, because most of the time if you're going to get something like when I went and built my deck out back, Colin, we drew it on a piece of like notebook paper and then went to the hardware store. It wasn't like I came in with like a 3-ring binder of like hand-drawn blueprints and images and things like that. Like,
But I think some people do though.
some people probably would. I don't know. This is a deeper one. That's pretty deep. Like, put it in the forums. Let's look at it from both perspectives. Like, what are you finding in search? What are people actually looking for?
And there's
what do
actually
they want to buy?
There's a course on this. If you go over to the courses on the right-hand side, do you know which one
It's
it
called
is?
Vetting Your Idea, and it'll teach you exactly how to research both niches to where you can see like what people are actually looking for. As I'm sitting here talking about it, it's probably more of an aspirin for the designer person to teach them how to do this than it is for the actual consumer, because the consumer is just like looking for examples, and you know, most of the time, unless they're building it themselves, if it's a DIY project, I could see them buying
I
something
think
like
that
this.
there's an audience for both things. So I think what we would recommend right now is to go through the course and post in the general discussion area with your thoughts, and we can hopefully weigh in as well.
And last comment on Allison says in the chat, I would pay if it will save me money on hiring someone. So that might be a play there. Like,
Yeah, I think that there are people out there
I'll
who
save you $1,000 on your design if you take my $100 course. That's a totally different ball game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that one, I think that's a little tricky, but I think we can hash it out.
Yeah. That's the great thing about these calls too, guys. Like, sometimes we don't have an answer. Sometimes nobody knows the answer, especially when you're researching your thing. That's why it's so important to bounce ideas off of people, to get into the community, to get into the courses, and really wrestle with this stuff. Like that's the goal of the Flip Your Life Blueprint and the Flip Your Life community. I had a friend email me the other day and was like, he was like, hey, what do you think me and my wife would be good at? And I'm like, bro, I can't tell you that. Like, I don't live with you guys. I don't know you guys that, well enough to know that. Like, you're going to have to pick something and try it based on research, right? This copywriting book that I'm reading said that 35% of all copywriting is done in research, and another 35% is in editing, and only 30% is actually in the creating of the thing. But so many people are like, just point me to the thing and I'll create it and it'll work, right? Like, you got to spend a lot of time figuring this out and then make a decision, and then it becomes easier as you get through
And
the
I
steps.
think a lot of times people want to think that this is black and white. Very few of the questions that people ask us here are black and white.
Oh yeah.
There's always gray area. And I know that's not what you want to hear, but I mean, it's just true. A lot of times we'll just tell you, just pick something and go with it.
Yeah.
If it's not working, change direction later. So, which one do you feel in your gut is going to be the one that you're most excited to work on? Which one do you feel like you can promote the most? Like all of those things play into your decision also.
And since this is his first niche, what Jocelyn just said there was straight gold. Like, pick the one you're going to do. Like, what excites you the most? That's the one, especially for the first one, because our first attempts are full of failures and hangups and things that discourage us. And if you're not obsessed and really want to do it, you won't keep going. So, great advice.
All right. Here's a success story from Dan. Dan says, I received an email from someone this morning with questions about my class. I answered the email, and 30 minutes later, she bought the class.
That's how you do it.
Only one question away.
Everybody is only one question away from buying your product. That's amazing.
And another success story from Matt. Matt says, I put on some of my social media platforms that Becca and I are going to be offering some courses for photographers this fall. I got 25 emails within 24 hours.
See, now
yes.
And now you're on the hook because you put a time frame on when you got to offer it to these people. Don't forget to keep them warm now. They're on an email list. You better email them updates, like outlines and sketches that you make. Just like make every once a week, make a sketch, like an email, or an outline, and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking about. This is what I'm thinking about. It's coming. And then launch it. If you really got some guts, Matt, just Matt and Becca.
Yep.
Hey, Matt, listen, guys, if you're really brave, you need to go make an order form now and sell to those 25 people on a pre-sale and put a date on it. That's what you do. Like, even if it's a PayPal button
with an outline of what you're
going to offer, like, do it. Now, go get one person to buy it. I dare you.
I wish that I knew the amount of money that we've made off of outlines.
With
absolutely no product.
Millions of dollars. like literally having no clue what we're going to, like having a general direction pointing, like millions of dollars, like hardcore.
People would seriously freak out. Like,
Elementary Library was an outline. You literally said, like, okay, this is what's going to happen in the next 12. It wasn't even an outline. It was just like, I'm going to do this if you keep buying it. And people kept buying it.
So I just kept doing it. Yeah. So yeah. But I mean, you do have to follow through, obviously, or you're not going to stay in business. But we've made a lot of money
pre-sale
on
everything.
Outlines. Okay. Let me see. This will be 18.
Okay, let's just knock out these.
I have one more.
All right, let's do two. All right, we're going to do two more questions for today's call.
All right.
We have to go pick up our kids at the bus stop.
This question is from Kevin, my fellow introvert friend, Kevin. Kevin says, what's your opinion on giveaways to build an email list? I feel like it could be a good way to build quickly, as long as what I'm giving away is true to my niche.
So a giveaway, are you like saying like, I'm giving away an iPad, or I'm giving away
I think that's what he means.
Right. Yeah, those are great. That's great. Like contests, basically.
But here's the thing. When you're doing a giveaway, make sure the giveaway is relevant to your audience. Okay. And what I mean by that is I don't want to give something away that would be relevant to anyone.
Yeah.
For instance, I don't want to give away an iPad. I don't want to give away a computer or
an Amazon gift card of $100.
And you know what? I see people doing this all the time. Like on Facebook, I see lawyers' offices doing it. I see oil change places doing it. Win an Amazon gift card. Well, that's great, except you know, the people who are going to be interested in that are the people who want to shop on Amazon or the people who want an iPad. You want people who want what you're trying to sell.
Yeah.
So maybe you give away a 1-month membership to your community. Well, obviously, if we did that, the only people who would be interested are people who are interested in starting an online business
or like a one-on-one call with us. Like that would be something that would be totally specific to like our niche, or even like I've seen people give away book bundles. That's a great way to get your niche. Like pick like the top 10 books in your space and buy them and put a picture of them and be like, I'm giving away these 10 books, but like you pick the books that are total. Like I would pick 10 books about calling football plays, right? Like this book, the best offense in the world, the 4-3 defense. Like you're just picking books that are so related to it, and then you ship them the one winner of those books. And like don't do the same thing. Don't do a Kindle packed with all those books, because then you're going to get people who just want the Kindle. Like the goal of an email list is quality, not quantity. I'd rather have 2,000 buyers than 10,000 people who just wanted the iPad. So it's not about the size of your list. It's just about how many people on it actually care about what you're selling.
Yeah, and I'm totally okay with doing a giveaway. Just make sure it's relevant and make sure you're getting the right types of leads, people who are interested in what you're selling. All right. This question is from Nicola. It says, I've been doing weekly blog posts plus YouTube videos for a month. There's not much change in my website views and no opt-ins. What am I doing wrong? Do I need to be more patient?
Okay. One, yes. Consistency will eventually beat proficiency every time. So if you're just consistent and keep going, keep stacking, everything's going to be fine. I would say maybe be a little more prolific. You're doing weekly blog posts. Maybe you need to do 2 a week. Okay. That's another way to increase things. And the third thing I would always, go ahead.
I would challenge you on your calls to action.
Yep.
And what I mean by that is, are you asking people to opt in? Are you asking people to subscribe? Are you telling people what you want them to do? Or are you just putting your website on a YouTube video and hoping people go to it?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's what most people will have a tendency to do. They'll think, oh, well, you know, they know that I want them to go to my website. I mean, it's right there in my YouTube comments. No, people don't know that. If you want them to go to your website, tell them to go to your website. If you want people to know that you have a product, tell them that you have a product.
Yeah.
Like you can't just expect people are going to know what you want them to do.
Every page on our site, every YouTube video we do, everything has a free trial link. Every single one of them. We leave breadcrumbs everywhere for people to follow back home, because we want to know them to know, like, yeah, I want you to watch this video, but I really want you to join the free trial. And that's why I made the video. So make sure you're doing that. And also too, I would challenge your research. If you're not getting clicks and views, you're not picking keywords that your avatar is looking for. That's probably what's happening. Because if you're creating relevant content that is based on what people are searching for, people will find it. Like it will show up eventually. Or you're picking words that are way too competitive and you're not spending enough time on research. Everything we post online, is researched. Okay. Even if we cut something up later, like we could take these Q&As if we wanted to, we could cut them up into questions and eventually we would roll something out on YouTube for them. I would spend 30 minutes to an hour researching what people are looking for based on that question, so that I know someone's typing that in somewhere. Because if I have 1,000 videos and they each get 100 views a month because of research, then that's 100,000 views, right? So make sure you're researching things, make sure you're having strong calls to actions, and that's how you get opt-ins and emails. And also, don't be pie in the sky here, people. You're not going to get 20% of everyone that looks at your stuff to opt in. So be more prolific, get more people to look at it, and you increase your numbers extra on your list.
Yeah, just remember, you know, if you're getting like 20 views on a video, well, if 3 to 5% opt in of 20 views, that's not a lot of people.
Yeah, you're
So
probably not
like
going to
you
get
need to concentrate on finding something that more people are searching for, that more people are going to see.
This sometimes requires two guys. Like if you have a circle, like a bullseye, and the red dot in the middle is your actual thing that you're selling, or the opt-in or whatever that you want them to do, and you're totally focused on that first ring of opt-ins to try to get people to watch this video, you may have to go wider and cast a bigger net. And you may have to get a video that's not even really totally related to what you're doing. It's just like the first step onto the path that could get them there. You may have to cast a wider net to get more people interested in what you're doing and filter out people who actually want your thing. So expand your horizons, think a little bigger, think a little farther out. Nicola, I know her from the forums, and she basically has a book about it's like autobiographies and things like that. Like you may have to go wider about people who just want to write books. Like maybe someone's like, I want to write a book. You may have to do something about writing a book to filter out the people who the kind of book they're writing is their autobiography, right? So you've got to think outside the box a little bit sometimes to get that attention, because all attention is good attention, and it'll bring them back to your product.
You may be niching down too far with your videos. Like maybe make it all people who are interested in writing something that's relevant to them, just like what Shane's saying, and then sort of drill down more into that and say, hey, I'm Nicola, and what I do is I help people write.
That's a really good
autobiographies.
Point. I don't think we've ever talked about is like your product is where you niche down, right? But your content, you don't really want to be totally niched. Like we're talking, Jocelyn and I have been talking a lot lately, like expanding out farther than just.
Shh, don't tell people my idea.
Okay, sorry, but we're talking about casting a bigger net to build bigger audiences and things like that. So I can't tell you what it is yet.
But look for something new.
Cool ideas that are happening right now. But it's to catch that bigger audience to filter people down to what we sell. So be on the lookout for that later too. Okay. All right, guys. What a great Q&A today. Hope we answered as many questions as we can. I know there's still a few questions in the chat. We have such an amazing community who asks tons of great questions. It's hard to get to them all. And, if you did not get your question answered today, post those in the forums. The community will jump in. Your friends here in the Flip Your Life community will jump in and help you get the answer to those questions. Our team will be in there as well. We'll try to get to as many of those as we can in the forums. And if you would like to get guaranteed answers from me and Jocelyn and be able to actually ask your questions right to our cell phones and us send you a message back, we do have a few spots in our all access mastermind for the fourth quarter. It is a 3-month mastermind where you will have access to me and Jocelyn to ask questions every single day and get answers to those questions. Go to flippedlifestyle.com/private. Jocelyn's going to drop a link in the chat room right now, flippedlifestyle.com/private. That will be an application only process after this week. And if you want to get back in, you're going to have to wait in line for that opportunity. So make sure you jump in now. Have a few spots left, and then it's going to close up and be application only going forward. But whatever you do, get out there and take action, guys. You have to do stuff to make it work. We can give you answers. We can point in the direction, but you've got to walk the path. And so make sure you're taking action this week and doing whatever it takes to flip your life. We will see you in 2 weeks at our next member call.